Hello gamers and welcome back. I'm Rob, of course, or Warshak if you want to call me by my in-game name, and I'm super excited to be bringing you this video where we're going to be talking and kind of diving into the new Journey to UnGoro cards. As we know, the first kind of wave of cards are set that was shown to us was March 17th, and then from there, we'll see more and more cards being released until the launch of the actual expansion. So I'll be reviewing the cards as they come out, and super excited as these first kind of batch of cards that they released are really cool, and I can only imagine what's to come and what kind of decks and we're going to be able to build and how much fun we're going to be able to have while deck testing. So without further ado, we'll start with the class cards, then we'll go to the neutral cards like always. And the first one's going to be the Archeologist. Hopefully I said that right. And it's going to be Battle Cry, draw a secret from your deck. It's statted at 2 as a 2/3, so the stats aren't bad. I think this is a kind of new look at what Mad Scientist should have been. Mad Scientist, as we know, the card was absolutely insane. Not only would it draw a secret from your deck, you would actually just instantaneously put it into play. So for 2 mana, you're getting a 2/2 creature and a secret from your deck onto the battlefield, which, as we know, is worth about 3 mana, because that's what mage secrets cost, hunters being 2, paladin being 1, but that's beside the point. So this actually just draws a secret from your deck. Our super secret Reno mage deck, I think this is going to be a definitely inclusion into that. Unfortunately, Reno is cycling out, so I'm not sure how well that deck's going to perform. We might just switch it back to Super Secret minus the Reno. But anyway, I think this is going to be a card that's going to be pretty good in the more late game, or I wouldn't say late game, but mid-range, late game mage classes, whether it be a tempo or control. We're not really sure yet because this is only one of the many cards that's going to be released. But as we know, not Hearthstone, but the team has been pushing a lot of mage secret synergy cards for quite some time now. Whether you're pulling secrets out of your deck with this particular Battle Cry, you're able to cast your secrets for free, or either your creatures are actually getting some significant buff from having a creature or a secret on the board, whether they're getting, taunt and +1/+1, are they getting +2/+2 at the end of each turn. So there's definitely a secret, mage that they're trying to push, and they've been pushing for a really long time. So whether or not this card is going to make or break the deck, I'm not sure, but I'm sure there'll be other cards that synergize with secrets to come. This is a good one at that, but I don't think this makes the deck, but I do think it pushes it in the right direction. Our next one's going to be the Rogue Legendary. It's kind of interesting that they're releasing the legendaries pretty early on. I think it's the reason because they actually have 2 legendaries for each class. As we know, they have the legendary quests, and now they also have the legendary minions. So it's kind of like 2 times the amount of legendaries, which allows them to show the legendaries off more frequently because we have twice as many of them. But this guy's really interesting. I think he's going to fall into the same category as the Shaku the Collector, as everybody said he was really bad at the start, and then he's actually found in most miracle rogues, aggro rogues. He's just a pretty good card. So I'm not sure if this is going to be as good as him, but I know off the bat it doesn't look that exciting, right? We see 4 mana, 5/3, stats are okay, 4 mana, the ability is what's going to bring this guy out. So let's take a look at that. So Death Rattle, go dormant, haven't seen that ability before, and then play 4 cards in a turn to revive this minion. So I actually have the little card that he's going to turn into, this little seed, so I'll put that up in the corner here. And so when he dies, he turns into the seed. And then if you play 4 cards in a particular turn, the seed will open back up, and this guy, I'm assuming, is going to come back to life, granted what we've read on his ability, right? So the problem comes if on turn 4 you play this guy, and then play 4 cards in a turn to revive him. So as we know, Rogue has been... they play a lot of cards in a single turn, whether they're, auctioneer, coin, prep, fan of knives, whatever the gist may be. They play a lot of shit in one turn. But normally after that miracle turn, there's not much more. You know what I'm saying? Like they throw it all out there, balls to the walls, cowgirl, and then you can either deal with it or you can't deal with it. And if you can't, you lose. And if you can, it's kind of hard for them to come back from that. So playing, I don't know how many times basically you're going to be able to revive this guy throughout the game, because it's not every turn you just sit there and play 4 cards. You only draw 1 a turn, so it's kind of just like this guy may come back to life once, twice, if you get him exactly on turn 4 and you've got the cards to do it. But I just don't know how much value this guy's going to generate. On top of that, let's say if you're playing like a N'Zoth rogue, it's not a bad card to make come back, but he doesn't actively, like, you know, as we know, rogue cards, they steal, like, if we look at the Undercity Huckster, it steals a card from your opponent's class. You can keep the gas going when it dies. As this, you know, once it dies, there's no more gas. There's just a seed, and the seed needs gas. And if you don't have gas, the seed's not seeding. You know what I'm meaning? So I'm really not sure where this guy's going to fit. It'll be interesting. Cool card, cool concept. I like it, but it's just weird, right? It just doesn't... play 4 cards in a turn to revive this minion. That fits in the class, but where does this guy in particular fit in the deck that makes that class? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? We'll have to see more cards to go. So the next one's going to be, I think, more of a meme card than anything, Dino size. I just like it because look at the little Murloc. He's like a little yellow Murloc. And then there's this big monstrous green Murloc that's like so steroided up. He doesn't even know what to do with his life right now. He's like, do I leapfrog the shit over this yellow guy? I mean, he has lightning, so we got some like Naruto shit going on here, or some Thunder God. I don't know what's going on, but this is a really cool art and interesting spell at that. But okay. So I don't think this is going to be a card that we're going to find in competitive Paladin decks. No. Is it going to be a card that's going to sometimes in niche situations be able to come out and actually be pretty powerful? Definitely. So we look at cards like Ivory Knight that can actually discover a Paladin card. Normally when we use Ivory Knight, we're tending to sway our decisions toward the more, you know, the more powerful cards that card can generate based on the current matchup we see. So if we're playing against aggressive base deck, then obviously we're going for the cheap heal, you know, field clear a minion, cheap minion, something like that, right? But if you're going in the value matchup, which I think this expansion is pushing towards based on some of the cards that we're going to be reviewing, we haven't got to yet, but you'll see where this kind of expansion is pushing us towards. Picking Dino size from an Ivory Knight isn't going to be out of the question. It's going to heal you for 8, and it also sets a minion's attack to 10 and health to 10, which means you're basically, you could hero power and Dino size in the same turn. You get a 10-10, not too bad. On top of that, let's say you already have a minion out. You effectively have a 10 damage charge minion because it can attack, you know, because it's been out a turn. So you could, because of the fact that it's a buff. It also doesn't override any current buffs. So let's say your guy has Divine Shield, any Wind Fury. I don't know how Paladins would get Wind Fury, but whatever the case, if they happen to have some other buff, this can combo well with that. And because they have the adapt. So I don't know. Yeah, so you could adapt and then Dino size. There's probably gonna be some fucking combo with, you know, like a couple adapt cards. You get like +3 attack. You go set a minion's attack to 10. The 0 mana, give it Wind Fury, and then give it like +3 attack. So we're talking it's like 14 attack, can attack twice. We got 28 damage, and as we know, the adapts cost 0. So yeah, there you go. There's your 8 mana, deal 28 damage in 1 turn with adapts and Dino size. That's what I'm talking about. I don't know if it'll work, but it sounded pretty good, right? It sounded good. Our next card is going to be Explore the UnGoro. I looked at this card, and I wasn't sure, guys. So we have 2 mana. Warrior, epic. Replace your deck with copies of Discover a card. So, first of all, where does this come in with a Warrior? Warrior has never been, like, as we know, Warlock has Renounced Darkness, which, you know, changes all the Warlock cards and the hero power of the deck to be some other deck, and you minus it +1. Priests constantly take other people's cards because the priest cards suck. We got Rogue, who doesn't necessarily, yeah, I guess rogues would steal other people's classes' cards, but rogues' cards aren't bad. But it's like, where does this fit into Warriors? Kind of my first take of it. Also, replace your deck with copies of Discover a card. So what is that? Is it a 1 mana, you know, spell Discover, and then it just gives you options? Is it, you know, the minions that discover cards? Is it Discover minions? So I'm not really sure where this card is. Obviously your hero power will remain the same, but besides that, this card, I'm unsure. It seems like a really cool and fun card. We're definitely going to play it, don't get me wrong, and we're going to make some Explore Warrior decks. But I just don't know where this card fits into competitive play because there's a lot of unknown about it. It's yet to be explored. That was horrible. So, interesting card. The next one's going to be Lakari. Holy shit, Rob. I think I actually said a name correctly. Lakari Fellhound. And that's going to be... This is where I was talking about earlier when I mentioned kind of the direction that they were pushing this expansion to be. We look at the stats, right? We see 4 mana, 3/8. That's huge for 4 mana. We're talking... This is our big dick swinger already on turn 4. Has Taunt, which, you know, if you're playing against an aggressive base deck, you know, a 3/8 on turn 4. Before we had to worry about a 3/6 dragon, and you actually had to have another dragon in your hand. But this... It requires nothing. and it's a 3/8 and it has taunts. How you doing? Discard 2 random cards from your hand, and it's a battle cry. So, and it's a demon. It looks super cool too. So the discard cards, we haven't talked about the Warlock Legendary Quest yet, but this fits right into what the Legendary Quest wants you to do. Stat-wise, really good. The fact that it's a demon, we've got some discard demon synergy going on, which is something, as we know, they've been pushing for quite some time now. So overall, I think this is going to be basically an auto-include into the demon package, or the demon discard package. Whether the deck is going to be more aggressive-based or mid-range, this makes me think more of a mid-rangey deck, with cards that are costing a 4, and it's a 3/8 in stats. It's going to stick around a while. It's going to, either get a lot of value through killing off minions, or it's just going to be punching face. But yeah, there's a very interesting card, and I like it a lot. Plus, the Fellhound is one of the coolest pets a Warlock could have, besides, like, the Doom Guard, right? The Voidwalker, we've seen enough of him. He's buff as shit. And the Succubus, that bitch was annoying. But the Fellhound, man, that was like the dog you wish you had. All right, so this was the Warlock Legendary Quest, which I mentioned before, and it works really well with the anything discard, basically, which is something that they've been pushing for a very long time. So we look at Quest, discard 6 cards, reward a nether portal. Cost 1 mana. What the fuck's a nether portal, Rob? I'm glad you asked. Let me pull that up for you. That's a nether portal. So it's a 5 mana nether portal. Open a permanent portal that summons 3/2 imps. Rob, how does this work? I got you. So you play the nether portal. It opens up a portal, and you get to summon how many imps? It just says summons 3/2 imps. It summons 3/2 imps. They count as demons. The picture looks pretty cool, but I don't have that picture because I looked, I couldn't find one. I'm sorry, guys. But at least I know how it works. It summons 3/2 imps, and does it happen at the beginning or the end of the turn? I don't know that either. I haven't played with the card yet. Limited information. I like it, though. So I looked at, well, first of all, I watched a couple other people reviewing these cards and kind of see what they had to say. And the main thing that stuck out to me, well, first thing is Warlocks already have Jiraxxus. And another person pointed out that because of Jiraxxus, is basically when you play that card, you have no other, you're summoning a 6/6 every turn for 2 mana with Jiraxxus' new hero power, which basically puts your opponent on some sort of countdown, right? You cannot deal with basically a 2 mana 6/6 every turn that's for free from Jiraxxus. There's no way. It's just eventually you will get steamrolled. This card, it kind of follows the same path as Jiraxxus. You're playing a card, you're getting value from it every single turn. Eventually, your opponent will not be able to handle all of these imps being portal, teleported, flown, I don't know, coming out of this portal, you know what I'm saying? So it's another kind of Warlock end game inevitability of death is basically what this card is. And I don't know why they haven't done this with any other class, allowing them to have, some sort of late game thing that they're looking to go do that allows them to, if unchecked, will win them the game. Warlock is currently one of the only classes that have that, and the example that I just gave was Jiraxxus. So with this is kind of like not a Jiraxxus, but it still has that inevitability of your opponent will eventually run out of things because you're summoning stuff for basically free. So I thought that was a pretty, it stroked me at first, and then I was like making sure it made sense, and then some other videos confirmed that. So really interesting to see that they continue to push that sort of mechanic with Warlock, but I don't think they would put it there if the other classes wouldn't be able to either have something in store, because we haven't seen all the cards yet, right? It's impossible to say how really good these cards are until we see everything, guys. So before we run off and oh my god, this is the most broken thing I've ever seen in the Hearthstone history of Hearthstone. We have to see everything, and then on top of that, not only seeing it, we actually have to play with the cards, guys. It's very limited. That's what I'm saying. Next card, super cool. Swamp King Dread, 7 mana 9/9 beast. After your opponent plays a minion, attack it. So it's kind of a long time coming. We've complained that we have no ability to interact with our opponent's turn in Hearthstone. As we know, when we hit that end turn button, The only interactive stuff we could possibly have is either death rattles like Sylvanas that, we can actively, if it dies, take a card from our opponent's board on the opposing turn. We can play secrets, which, trigger during your opponent's turn, but it's very limited. There's not a whole lot we could do. So cards like Swamp King Dread breaks the barrier of being able to interact, whether it's, not something that you physically, you're countering something, but your creatures can do stuff during your opponent's turn that may interrupt whatever they're trying to do, because obviously you have a game plan, your opponent has a game plan, and you win Hearthstone by either interrupting your opponent's game plan enough, and then you can take advantage of that, or you ignore their game plan and you just go straight face, whatever the case may be. This is kind of an interrupting your opponent's turn in ways that we haven't seen yet. So whether this is going to turn into a really good, mid-range hunter card, don't know, but for stats and mana cost, it's good. It's gonna probably kill a minion unless it's dealt with by a spell, and if it's dealt with by a spell, it's gonna be something pretty big to kill it, which means your opponent's gonna be doing less that turn. So I think it kind of accomplishes what it's trying to do, which is interrupt whatever the fuck your opponent's trying to do, because taking 9 to the face is huge for Hunter. We're talking that's 1/3 of someone's life, and by turn 7, the Hunter's hero power, ding 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 ding, 2 damage each time. That does some stuff over the course of a game. That messes with someone's head. So I think it will actually be a pretty good card found in mid-range Hunter. And plus, he's fucking huge and he's badass looking. Look at that guy. The next one, not my favorite card to be released. I need to take a sip. Hold on. Okay. I don't even want to try it. I'm just gonna call him the Crawler. Kakaya, you guys are laughing at me. 2 mana, 2/3 beast. So the stats are pretty average for the normal 2-drop. Normally we see a 3/2 or 2/3. Sometimes we've seen as far as a 4/3, but we've seen the downfall of that because what is it? It's the card in the Warlock class that if it takes damage, it does it to your hero as well. So they can't stat every 2-drop minion and crazy, but the battle cry is what makes this card not something I like that much. So it says battle cry, destroy a pirate and gain 1/1. So as we know, there's a very similar card to this. It's like Hungry Crab. It's a 1-drop, 1/2, and if it kills a Murloc, gain 2/2. And it's a 1 mana. So they basically did the same thing with that card. They bumped it up a mana, gave it 2/3 in stats, and they said destroy a pirate, gain 1/1. The problem is that if you're playing pirates and someone plays this against you, it feels bad. If you don't play against pirates and you play this card in your deck, it feels bad because you put this card to specifically kill pirates and it doesn't do that. So you're going to get mad when you don't play against someone playing pirates, and the pirate guys are going to get mad when he plays against someone playing this because it's specifically for pirates. So there's not like a middle ground where either player, whether or not the ability can trigger every time, makes either or feel good about it, because there's always going to be one player that feels really salty on either end of the stick there. Cards like the King Dread card we just kind of went over, if a player plays it, it's not like, oh, that card was specifically teched against my deck, and because he had that one card and I played this one card, I've lost the game. That's not how that card works. It's like, oh, I didn't put the sufficient removal to deal with something on turn 7 or 8 to kill this card, and I haven't built up a board, therefore I took 9 damage to the face and I've lost. But a card like this is just, oh, we made pirates too strong. Let's print a broken removal pirate card, and if your opponent plays it and draws it and they play against pirates, they automatically win. That's not the way it should run. That's not good. That's not good design. That doesn't give a player, any sort of, oh, I played this game and I outskilled. No, you played a card and it instantaneously killed a creature and made this guy a 3/4. Like, no. So this card is not something I like at all. It's a shitty way to deal with overpowered things that they just printed like this. So as much as we've liked the cards thus far, we got to point out when we don't like something. Next one, Thar Creeper. It's a 3 mana 1/5 elemental. I like the tag, you know what I'm saying? Taunt has +2 attack during your opponent's turn. So this is obviously going to be put in some maybe slower decks, because on our turn, this is not a beatdown creature. It's a 1/5 on our turn. It's not doing much. It has 1 attack. It's a very little slime with this guy. He has no, look, his bones, they're all broken. So he's a little, what's the word? A lengthy fucker. I don't know. But on our opponent's turn, all of a sudden he recombobulates and he has 3 attack and he has taunt, so which means they have to go through them. So if you're playing this against maybe an aggressive base deck where your opponent's doing most of the attacking on their turn and you don't need to do all of this damage on your turn, you're just merely trying to survive. Fantastic card for that, and something we haven't seen yet. The ability to, again, kind of not react, but during your opponent's turn, making it a little bit more difficult for them to do what they want to do, which seems to be a common trend here. There's things happening on our opponent's turn. Normally, this doesn't happen. We do diddly squat on our opponent's turn. So, again, creatures being able to do stuff, very interesting. I like I said, they're pushing against the aggro with cards like this. So Thar Creeper, good example of how to defeat aggro. This shit, horrible example of how to defeat aggro. It will defeat aggro. This will fuck some Pyro Warriors up. But the Pyro, like, there's spots and metas for aggro decks. The aggro decks, they need to be in there to stop the Jade Druids. If we don't have stuff like the aggro decks, Jade Druids will run wild, and we all have had the bad end of the stick against Jade Druids. So these cards need to be in there. But cards to stop that, like Thar Creeper, good examples of ways to do so in a very in my opinion, more fun and interactive manner. Next card is going to be the Priest, and it's a 4-mana 2/6 taunt, death rattle. Give a friendly minion 1/1. So first thing is, of course, N'Zoth Priest, right? It gives more curator, or what is it, museum curator options, and again, relatively cheap minion. Taunt. The attack doesn't necessarily matter because you'd play this to stop more aggressive base decks, and the HP matters. So definitely, it's a if we noticed that Priest lost a pretty important turn 4 card, Twilight Guardian, and it had taunt, and it had 6 HP, and it actually also had 2 attack, and if you had a dragon, it would gain +1 attack and taunt. So, not that this is a direct replacement for Twilight Guardian, but Priest needs something on turn 4, and it just so happens that they've given it the exact same statted creature, and they've just thrown it in the N'Zoth package instead of a dragon package. That's how I look at this card. I could be looking at it wrong, but either way, it's basically exactly the same as a Twilight Guardian. It's just not a dragon. It goes into a N'Zoth package. So yeah, this card. So we have another release, guys. We have another release. So as we know, TGT is rotating out, and the League of Explorers, which held the other release, is rotating out, and we were able to fill our entire deck with random legendaries. Now this Elise, the new Elise, the 5-mana 5/5 Elise, goes Battle Cry. Shuffle a sealed UnGoro Pack into your deck. Rob, what's an UnGoro Pack? No problem, fam. So let's put that up over here. So, UnGoro Pack, 2 mana, add 5 Journey to UnGoro cards into your hand. So, this doesn't help you in the, well, actually, it kind of does help you into the fatigue, because it does add 1 card to your deck. So, it'll add that 1 card, Battle Cry, and then when you draw this card and you play it, it's going to, as we know, a pack contains 5 cards. So, it's going to give you 5 cards into your hand. That's a lot of cards for 2 mana. And then, so what I've heard is that it's going to work the same as a normal pack, but you're going to get guaranteed 1 legendary, and then, like, you know, the rares, epics, and other legendaries also have a very high chance to proc. But worst case, you get 1 legendary and 4 commons. Best case, you know, you get multiple legendaries, you get a couple rares and an epic, or whatever the case may be. Normally, the packs will give you a lot of value, is what it's trying to portray. Not value all the time, but value most of the time is what I've read up and understand about what this UnGoro Pack is going to give you. Super cool, in my opinion. I like these kind of this isn't a card where you play it and you instantaneously win. It's not like Reno Jackson. If you're playing against an aggressive base deck, you play Reno, you win the game. You don't draw Reno, you lose the game. It's the way it works. At least you got a player, then you got to draw this card, and then you have to have enough space in mana to play this card, and then the cards in your hand, you have to figure out how they work well together or with what your current deck has, because it's going to be different every time. There's some skill to that. You know, you have to live long enough to do this. There's requirements that need to be met here, and on top of that, you have to understand how those cards synergize well together in the most efficient way if you want to, you know, utilize them to the fullest. So I like this kind of stuff. I like it a lot, and I'm looking forward to playing with them. And that ends all of the cards that have been currently released for this upcoming expansion. Sorry I couldn't get to these cards and release this video sooner, guys, but as you know, I've been traveling to and from New York, and when these cards were released, I was on an airplane back to Florida, and then I looked these over and made this video as soon as I could. So hopefully you understand, but now that, I'm back in Florida, I should be able to get to these videos sooner for you guys and to review the cards basically when they get announced. So with that, thanks for watching. I will catch you in the next card review video, and if you would like, feel free to leave your comments in the section below if you think I've missed anything or you'd like to add on to anything that I've mentioned during the video. So, as always, I'm Warshak, and happy whatever the hell day it is.